Thank you very much. Please welcome Kevin Schaefer, Chairman of the Board of the U.S. Water Alliance.
Good morning, everyone. In my day job, I'm the Executive Director of the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District, and I want to welcome you all here. Thank you for taking time from your busy schedules to attend the One Water Conference. And as you heard, I am the current chair of the board for the U.S. Water Alliance. I'm very, very proud to be part of this great organization and to be part of the great transformation that we've seen happening. It's a real honor, and you know, we should really just take a time to celebrate what we're here for, which is the One Water Summit. And first, I'd like to thank the staff of the U.S. Water Alliance. If they could all stand, because they did a lot to make this happen. I thought I was going to have to come down and make them stand up. They weren't getting up too good. We really have a great team, and we're very fortunate to have them. And this is the One Water Summit, and so as you walk around and you see the different people, even at your table, there's probably people that you've never talked to before tonight, or before today, I should say. This is one of those where we've got utilities, we've got environmental groups, we've got government agencies, and it's really an opportunity to close the gap that we see with the One Water issues. So look around, make a friend, and walk away with many business cards of new people that you've got to know. In 2008, the U.S. Water Alliance was created to serve as a cross-sectional group of businesses, utilities, governmental groups, all working together, driving a paradigm shift in the way the nation views, values, and manages water. We call this new paradigm the One Water. It's one of those things a lot of people ask me to define. I'll leave that to others to help define that. We are pushing for policies and procedures that help people, organizations, and decision makers understand their role in managing water sustainably. And you are all here today because you are committed to these goals and a new future for water in this country. Over the next 2 days, you'll be digging into ways we advance our One Water goals through partnerships, collaborations, policy, project finance and delivery, and community engagement. We're thrilled to be here in Atlanta, and I really do want to thank the City of Atlanta for sponsoring us and having this great conference here. It's really a great honor to be here, so thank you very much. And with that, we do have William Johnson, who's the Interim Commissioner of the City of Atlanta Department of Water Management, to address us today. With over 2 decades of experience in infrastructure management, he brings an integrated approach to managing the city's water infrastructure. William, thank you for having us in your great city, and please come up.
Good morning. Welcome to Atlanta. First of all, I would like to thank the U.S. Water Alliance for selecting Atlanta to host this conference this year. And I'd also like to thank Radhika Fox for all of her hard work and her team. Let's give them a hand. I'd like to congratulate DC Water, Dow, and Emory University for winning the U.S. Water Prize last night. Let's give them a hand too. This is an exciting time to be in Atlanta. In the year 2020, we're going to host the Final Four, the NCAA Final Four. In 2018, we've got the College Football National Championship here. And let's see, I think I'm forgetting one. In 2019, Atlanta's going to host the Super Bowl, so at our new Mercedes Stadium. That's going to be the most water efficient stadium in the United States. We're excited as we embark upon a number of new initiatives here in Atlanta, dealing specifically with our aging infrastructure and water supply. Soon the City of Atlanta will increase its water reserves from its current 3-day supply to a 30-day supply with the reconstruction of a quarry site that's located in the northwest portion of the city. Many of you visited the site on yesterday and saw a lot of the great work that's going on as we work to improve our water infrastructure. This is a priority project for our mayor and very important to the city, and it will position the city long-term as we continue to grow and become a national leader when it comes to our water supply. The reservoir will serve as the centerpiece of growth and development, and it's going to support the continued economic development and transformation of the west side of Atlanta, as the project will support some of the ongoing development around the Beltline, which is going to connect over 22 miles of roadway around the city, along with bike trails, walking trails, and transit. Like many cities across our nation, Atlanta has faced challenges due to aging water and sewer lines. But we've maintained and committed to efficient operations and ensure the efficiency of the city's water supply well into the future. I hope that you've had a great time here in Atlanta. It's a great city. We have great weather. We have great restaurants. We have great entertainment. So make sure you spend lots of money while you're here. Thank you again, and welcome to Atlanta.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? I want to echo Kevin and William in welcoming you to the One Water Summit. The City of Atlanta has just been a wonderful, wonderful host, so we really thank them. So a summit like this doesn't happen without an incredible team of partners, so I'm going to hope that you will indulge me while I really thank everybody who made the summit happen. First, I'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, the City of Atlanta Department of Watershed Management. They have just been absolutely phenomenal, from 20 volunteers from the Office of Communications who are making sure everything runs smoothly, making sure that all of the best ideas of what's happening in Atlanta are reflected in the program, the beautiful video that you're going to see in a few minutes. So I want to, again, thank you to the Department of Watershed for just such a tremendous partnership. I'd also like to thank our sponsors for their support of the summit, CH2M, Dow, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Jacobs, MWH, and the U.S. Water Partnership, as well as our supporters, Arcadis, the Atlanta Regional Commission, Black & Veatch, Carollo Engineers, Coca-Cola North America, Emerson Process Management, Greeley & Hansen, Gresham Smith and Partners, Keurig Green Mountain, the Pisces Foundation, the Turner Foundation, the Water Environment and Research Foundation, and the Water Research Foundation. So thank you all for making the summit such a success. I have an amazing board of directors that guide the work of the U.S. Water Alliance. I want to thank them for their support in this process. And Kevin already did a shout out to our staff, but I just need to echo that we have an amazing team. And in particular, I don't know where she is, but Fiona Murray, probably 90% of you have talked to her, emailed with her. She has really guided this summit. So thank you, Fiona, and thank you to the entire team at the Alliance. I feel like this is the Academy Awards, right? How many more thank yous? And no, but really, seriously, I want to finally thank all of you because you are busy people, and we are just really honored that you have chosen to spend the next 2 days with us. So again, thank you very much. So who are you all spending the next 2 days with? Let me give you a sense of who's in the room. We have about 450 leading thinkers in water from around the country. Utilities, businesses, public officials, environmental leaders, community-based organizations, philanthropy, researchers, so really all of the stakeholders that we need to be engaged to ensure a sustainable water future. We have 31 states in the room, over 100 cities, and something that we're really excited about is 16 regional delegations. Our delegations are really dedicated to coming to the summit to learn together and to translate those learnings back into their home communities. So I need to give a shout out to the delegations and the organizations that really made them possible. So starting from the West Coast, we have 2 delegations from California. The LA delegation was organized by LA Sanitation. We have a delegation from San Francisco organized by the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. A delegation from Tucson organized by American Rivers. We have actually a bi-state delegation from Kansas City that was organized by the Kansas City Water Services. Iowa's delegation, statewide delegation, organized by the Iowa Clean Water Alliance. Wisconsin's delegation was organized by the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District. I want to thank Greater New Orleans, Inc. for coordinating the Southeast Louisiana delegation. The Northeast Ohio delegation was organized by the Cleveland Water Alliance. We have a delegation from Raleigh-Durham, organized by the Conservation Fund and American Rivers, and a delegation from New Jersey, organized by New Jersey Future. We also have 5 delegations from right here in the state of Georgia. We have a delegation of folks, of planners that was organized by the Georgia chapter of the American Planning Association, City of Atlanta delegation. The Partnership for Southern Equity has brought together a delegation of neighborhood leaders across the city. The Georgia Association of Water Professionals, and then we have a delegation from the Upper Flint River Basin. And then finally, I also want to thank the Nature Conservancy, who's brought a team of their water staff from across the country. So again, a round of applause for our delegations. Now this is really beginning to feel like an Academy Award speech, but there are so many people to thank. I also am really excited to announce this morning that we have 7 new members of the U.S. Water Alliance that have just joined the organization, and those include 5 utilities: the Albuquerque-Bernillo Water Utility Authority, the DeKalb County Department of Water Management, Denver Water, the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, and the Louisville Metropolitan Sewer District. These 5 utility members are today also joined by 2 new private sector members, River to Tap and Tetra Tech. So welcome to the Alliance family. So before we move into our Atlanta panel, I wanted to take a couple of minutes to just sort of set the context for the discussion that we really hope that we will have over the next 2 days. So I am actually fairly new to the U.S. Water Alliance. I've been with the organization about 9 months. And, you know, when I first had the honor of coming to the U.S. Water Alliance, I spent a lot of time really listening to our members, to our supporters, to really understand what does One Water mean to them. As folks were saying yesterday at our One Water Council meeting, it's a concept, it's an organizing statement that it animates people, but it also is a bit fuzzy. And so during the course of these 2 days, we really want to define what One Water means to you. As Kevin mentioned, when the Alliance first started in 2008, the idea was really to create an inclusive tent, a table where anybody that was trying to drive towards more integrated approaches, sustainable approaches to water resource management, that they could come, find fellowship, find allies, find the best ideas. And so as I reflect on kind of where we as the water community have come around One Water, I think we've made tremendous progress. And so as you all go through the summit the next 2 days, I mean, the program is chock full of those innovations, from new business models to scaled green infrastructure to major water reuse projects to new partnerships between the agricultural community and utilities to deal with water quality. So the innovation is there, the strategies are there. But we're also at a tipping point when it comes to water. At the U.S. Water Alliance, we believe that water is the defining issue of this next generation. The World Economic Forum has named water as the single biggest global threat from a geopolitical, economic, security perspective. And if I just think about the 9 months that I've been with the U.S. Water Alliance, like, what have we seen? There has been entering the fifth year of epic drought in California, the tragedy in Flint, the extreme flooding in many communities like what happened in Houston. So it really is a tipping moment as far as the challenges that we face. But I think more importantly, and I think you all know this better than I do, that more importantly, I think we're at a tipping point as it relates to knowledge, to creativity, to partnerships that we need to really secure a sustainable water future. So that's what the next 2 days are about. It's about that. We also, as the staff and the board and the One Water Council developed the summit program, we really were guided by one question, which is, we know the innovation is happening, but how do we accelerate that? How do we make One Water the new normal in every community across America, urban, suburban, rural? So that is really the question that we hope we will all grapple with today. And as we do that, I just want to encourage us all to be big in our thinking over the next 2 days, to be bold in the actions that we take coming off of the summit, and bold in the partnerships that we build. So I think there's no better way to kick off that discussion about how we can secure a sustainable water future for all than looking at what's happening here in Metro Atlanta. And so to begin that discussion, I'd like to share with you a video that the Department of Watershed Management created under the leadership of Lillian Govis, the communications director. So please enjoy this video. We are thrilled that the City of Atlanta is our host for the One Water Summit 2016. The City of Atlanta is doing amazing work around One Water, from the green infrastructure project behind me, to the water supply project at the Beltwood Quarry, to the permeable paving all around the city.
Water is life. It sustains us, it sustains our natural systems, our ecosystems, and it's embedded in every facet of society. At the Turner Foundation, we fund initiatives in water at the national level, at the state level, and at the watershed and the community level. And we are particularly proud of the great progress we've made in our hometown of Atlanta, Georgia.
Water is incredibly important for a city. We're basically a small city on a game day with 70,000 people here in a small footprint. We couldn't operate it without it. It's an important part of our food and beverage program, obviously the restrooms, our cleaning, and we're excited to have a very efficient building. We feel very good about where we are and really excited about some of the water features we're pursuing.
Water is incredibly important to a company like Coca-Cola. It's the #1 ingredient in virtually everything that we make. It's an important component to the ingredients that go into our product, the agricultural ingredients especially. It's also, and just as important, or maybe more important than those things, it's a life-sustaining resource. We strive to be the corporate leader in water stewardship.
The Chattahoochee Riverkeeper works hard every day to protect this beautiful river and our source of drinking water for Metro Atlanta. The City of Atlanta has invested nearly $2 billion in its sewer infrastructure over the past 20 years, and we're seeing remarkable improvements in water quality in the Chattahoochee River. We cannot take this water for granted, and we have to do everything that we can to conserve and to protect it to ensure that we have enough water for now and future generations.
When we talk about water, period, in this city, we're under a consent decree where it's very important that we have clean water. So it's not just storm water, it's not just the water that we drink. it is sanitary sewage as well. We're taking all of those waters and making it a single priority. I would say one source.
These solutions aren't easy, and the key to a one water sustainable future really is collaboration and engagement.
The Chattahoochee Riverkeeper, West Atlanta Watershed Alliance, Community Improvement Association, the Proctor Creek Stewardship Council, and there are probably 24 others, literally, who have made Proctor Creek their priority with the City of Atlanta. This is a real partnership.
Atlanta is securing a one water future. It's benefiting the city today and securing a brighter future for generations to come. Again, I just have to thank the City of Atlanta for producing such a wonderful video. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Please now join me in welcoming our opening plenary to the stage. A number of Atlanta leaders, so come on up. Welcome. Oh, it's bright. It is bright, but isn't this a fabulous group of people to be looking out at? So as we wanted to really kick off the summit by spotlighting what's happening here in Metro Atlanta. And you know, as we kind of prepared for this session, our speakers, who I'm going to introduce in a second, said they wanted to have a real conversation. So we're going to talk about what's working, the progress that's happening here in Atlanta, but we're going to also talk about what the unfinished agenda is around One Water and what it's going to take to get there. So again, thank you for joining us. I'm going to introduce us from closest to me to that way. So Scott Jenkins is the general manager for Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Stephanie Stuckey-Benfield is the director of the Mayor's Office of Sustainability for Mayor Kasim Reed here in the city of Atlanta. Judy Adler, the president of the Turner Foundation. And Doug Hooker, the executive director of the Atlanta Regional Commission. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for hosting us here in Atlanta. So I thought we could maybe start with you, Doug, and that you could perhaps give us some regional perspective around the water challenges and the opportunities that you all are moving here.
Oh, great. Well, welcome to Atlanta. Welcome to the metro area as well as the city. So I've got some prepared text here, so I'm going to read those if you don't mind. So our job at the Atlanta Regional Commission is to think about a 20-county area and coordinate with all the cities and governments in those 20 counties. And part of that duty is to serve as the technical staff for the Metropolitan North Georgia Water Planning District, which is 15 of those counties, 92 cities, and 55 different water utilities. So in today's complex world, our challenges that our communities face cannot be addressed by one entity alone, and that's where we come into play, trying to help them coordinate their cooperative action. And they can't do it alone either. It requires other actors and partners in the private sector, the social sector, and philanthropic sector, which my friend over here represents so wonderfully. So a few issues, as we all know, are more complex than water, and Metropolitan Atlanta offers an exemplary example of collaboration and cooperation on so many regional water issues. In fact, when people say to me, we never cooperate on anything, we can't get folks to do anything together, and I say, we've been cooperating on water for over 30 years. And we've got a very long and successful track record in that regard, which I'm proud to be a part of. In that collaboration, our efforts through the district have resulted in a greater than a 10% total water consumption drop for Metro Atlanta, even though our population has grown by over 1 million people in the last 15 years. And our per capita water use has dropped more than 30%. Some of that, no doubt the economy had some part of that, but we saw that trend happening before the recession kicked in, and we've seen it continue even after we've come out of the recession, which is a good sign, both of which were good signs. And it says that what we were trying to do was working. Some of the things that we have tried to do are in our plan, our long-range water plan, is to integrate water supply management, watershed protection, and wastewater management more completely than ever and consistently. And in our next update of our plan, we're going to be looking at how we integrate and drive more integrated water management approaches for all of that. Water planners aren't the only ones, however, who can benefit from this collaboration. And as we at the Atlanta Regional Commission developed the region's long-range plan last year, we brought in water and water use and integrated as much as possible with our land use planning and transportation planners, try to develop a more consistent set of policies that would help protect water in the long range, not only through water policies and practices, but also through land use and transportation practices together. And we developed a web-based tool that provides for better environmental information for all the folks in our region. We're able now to gather data on water quality, endangered species, protected areas, water supply, watersheds, and historic resources and more, so that stakeholders can get a sense of, as they think about projects, how those projects are impacted or how they might impact our water considerations. And so continuing this cross-discipline collaboration is really important for us. And we are now working on a regional green infrastructure strategy. And this strategy, we hope, will create a framework through which people from different disciplines, including land use planning, transportation, as well as water professionals, can discuss and implement projects involving green infrastructure in all aspects of our community development. So we intend this to be the beginning point of further work around this topic, and we hope to look deeper into some of the challenges and opportunities that are afforded by innovative approaches like this. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Doug. So, Stephanie, maybe you can share with us some of what's happening here at the City of Atlanta and how you all have made water a sort of centerpiece of your sustainability strategy.
I'd be happy to. And first, I just want to thank you for serving Atlanta water
Yay.
on the podium. Thank you. It tastes wonderful. So this is a bit of a peeve of mine sometimes when they have bottled water.
Yes.
And I'm like, we have fabulous potable water here in Atlanta. And I just want to give a shout out to the City of Atlanta employees who are here. So if you're with the City of Atlanta, can you just stand up for a second? I just want to thank you all for the good work you do. We have such great staff. We have engineers. I'm looking at Todd, who's my point person on all the sustainability initiatives we're working on. And we have Polly with the airport, and we're just doing great work in Atlanta. And so thank you for letting us host you. It's been an honor. So I would just stress that all the work that the Office of Sustainability is doing is based on partnerships. And that's reflective of the people here on the stage this morning. These are all people with whom I partner on a regular basis, and there's many others in the audience, the nonprofit sector, regional governments, the philanthropic community, and I'm so excited about us we will have the greenest Super Bowl ever. Yeah. And that's thanks to Scott, and it was a real coup for us to get him here to Atlanta, so we're just excited that we stole you from Seattle. No offense to anyone from Seattle. But so some of the initiatives we're working on in Atlanta have already been referenced. Green infrastructure is a huge component of what we're doing, and I'm excited about the work that y'all are doing regionally, and we want to be an important partner in that effort. So I know some of y'all probably toured our green infrastructure sites in Atlanta. We're especially proud of the old Fourth Ward Park that was featured in the video. That's right alongside our Beltline, another thing that we're extremely proud of here in Atlanta. So a lot of our work is green infrastructure, dealing with stormwater and flooding. We were recently named just last week one of the 100 resilient cities by the Rockefeller Foundation. And so one of the key initiatives of that is going to be dealing with flooding and addressing green infrastructure. So we're really going to be focusing on that in a major way in the coming years as a result of that grant as well. Gosh, it's one other thing I was going to mention.
Tell them about
I know, I'm sorry. Judy's right here, so I cannot forget this. Our energy efficiency ordinance was the first in the country to require water audits. And so we have really worked in our energy programming to make sure that we're making the energy water nexus. So we're requiring commercial buildings that are 25,000 square feet and up to do benchmarking and auditing of not just their energy data, but also their water data. So all of the energy work that we're doing with the Better Buildings Challenge, we're #1 in the country for square footage committed to the Better Buildings Challenge, involves water and energy work.
That's great. And do you want to just say a word about the Green Infrastructure Action Plan?
So I don't know if we have copies available. If we don't have hard copies available, it is available online, but this was the result of a multi-year effort. It was a partnership with the City of Atlanta and a lot of nonprofit groups, some of whom are in the room. I know Stacy Funderburk with the Conservation Funds here, and American Rivers. Jenny Hoffner is part of that organization. So we did an action plan that not only talks about policies, but also lifts up specific projects. And one of the ones we're going to be focusing on is Boone Boulevard, which is in the west side of town along Proctor Creek, which is a priority of the mayor's. It's one of the most endangered creeks in the country, and that's a priority area of our work. And so look to see a lot more on the green infrastructure. And one other thing I'll say about Proctor Creek is the Corps of Engineers and the city are partnering on a 3-year, $3 million study to restore the ecological habitat of Proctor Creek. And we're really moving forward with that. And we're about halfway through the first year. And so we hope to be really working on making that stream somewhere where you can actually maybe play in the creek again and not have to worry about getting sick. That's our goal.
Thank you, Stephanie. So you talked about the importance of partnerships with many stakeholders, including philanthropy. And so, Judy, first I want to congratulate you as the recently announced president of the Turner Foundation. Congratulations. Can you tell us a little bit about your approach at the Turner Foundation and why water is a centerpiece of your strategy?
Sure, happy to, but there's not much to say because of the rock stars that are on the stage, all the great things that are happening at the regional level and at the local level, and partnerships really are a key to that success. But first of all, I just want to say how wonderful and refreshing it was last night to go to the U.S. Water Prize event. Radhika, I think it was the first time in my career where I've worked in the public, in the private, and the nonprofit side, where I had colleagues from the spectrum of all 3 stages of my career. So bravo to you for truly bringing the community together.
Thank you.
So thanks for all that you do. So yes, the Turner Foundation. So Ted Turner, our chairman, likes to say that his goal is to save everything. So he has set the bar high for all of us, let me tell you. And it gets a little confusing at home because my husband is named Ted too, so it's like, what Ted are you talking about, Judy? But so my lovely husband, Ted, he likes to save things. So we have stacks of magazines around the house, so. Yeah. And I'll be like, sweetie, don't you think it's time to recycle those magazines? Like, Ted says to save everything, so I'm saving everything. So, but honestly, our formal mission is to protect and restore our natural systems, the land, the water, and the air that all life depends. So we do have an ambitious mission at the Turner Foundation, but thankfully we have amazing partners that are smart and strategic and very forward-thinking to help us think through how we achieve that mission at the Turner Foundation. So as Stephanie mentioned, one of my favorite topics is the connection between water and energy, because for years I've been wearing the water and the energy hat at the Turner Foundation. And I think it's really interesting the parallels and the synergies between the 2 industries in a big way. At the Turner Foundation, wearing the energy hat, our big goal is to catalyze as quick as possible the transition from centralized power plants, like big coal, big nuclear plants, to more sustainable solutions. And a lot of those solutions are decentralized. So it's looking at how do you make our buildings as efficient as they possibly can be, like the great stadium that's going up right now. And let's not just make them zero energy buildings, let's make them net positive buildings. So we're actually generating more energy than we're using in the built environment. So that is our strategy on energy. And by the way, what's one of the reasons why we're doing that? Because it greatly reduces the water footprint of the energy sector at the same time. Now, you go on the water side, and it's really similar. You know, again, we're trying to catalyze the transition away from the solutions, no offense to my engineering predecessors, but, you know, focus on really big, large infrastructure projects to some more sustainable solutions that sometimes are more decentralized and that try to mimic and restore nature. And, you know, I'm a pragmatist, I'm an engineer by training, so I know that we're still going to have some gray infrastructure, but we can certainly have a lot more natural infrastructure than we have now, and be creative and establish partnerships, you know, not just among water utilities and engineers, but with planners, with designers, ecologists, landscape architects. That's why we're here, right? I'm preaching to the choir, I know that. You know, it's really to establish those partnerships. So what does philanthropy do? Well, I'm so fortunate that we have a fantastic board, Ted and his 5 children, that really say, you know what? Use all of the tools in the toolbox. You are welcome to use them all. So, except one, I should say, we don't fund capital projects. So we love parks, we love them, but it's just not what we do. So, but what we do fund are collaboration and partnerships, and you've heard about some of those partnerships already. We are so excited about the Better Buildings Challenge, about the progress there. And you know, the success wouldn't have happened if it wasn't a partnership between the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. Same with green infrastructure. You know, we're happy to work behind the scenes and fund the NGO community that's partnering with the city and partnering with ARC to execute your vision. And also, we're happy to be in the forefront when it's needed, but we're also happy to work behind the scenes. So education, funding meetings like this that really have an impact, because this way you can cross-pollinate models to different parts of the country. That's so incredibly important. Advocacy, engagement is so important. We are very proud that we helped start 2 wonderful organizations, the Chattahoochee and the Flint Riverkeeper, and you need to have engaged communities on these issues to have an impact. Research, every now and then we'll fund a study. In fact, we funded the U.S. Water Alliance many years ago.
I didn't know that until you told me. Well, thank you.
Yeah, a study that looked at the barriers to green infrastructure at the national level. It was quite a few years ago. And then I will go ahead and say that when all those things don't work, we're willing to fund legal action when it's needed. I don't think it's a secret that we were involved in some of the legal action that led to the consent decree in Atlanta eventually. And that truly is one of the things that has led to change in our great city. And as far as what we focus on in water, we tend to gravitate towards solutions that achieve multiple benefits across our priorities. So that's why we love green infrastructure, because not only is it helping to make our watersheds healthier, but it also is creating habitat for wildlife, which is another priority at the Turner Foundation. And it helps with our 3rd goal, which is growing and diversifying the movement, because people are not going to take action for the environment unless they actually spend time in the environment and they have access to nature close to home. I feel very fortunate that my family lives near this wonderful nature preserve that's along Peachtree Creek, which is a Chattahoochee tributary. And I can't tell you the mental and physical benefits of just walking along those streams. It's absolutely enormous. So that's a pet issue of mine, very personal. And with that, I think I'll turn it back over to you, Radhika.
Yeah, no, thank you for that great overview. So I think we heard from Doug about sort of regional planning, some of the great green infrastructure work and partnerships happening in the city, the role of philanthropy. So Scott, can you share with us a little bit about what's happening at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium and why Arthur Blank has really made sustainability a centerpiece to his business model?
Sure. Yeah, I spent 8 years in Seattle before I came here, and I knew Atlanta. I liked Atlanta. I was here in '96. Great vibe, great people. Never thought to live here, and had done a few new buildings before, but Miller Park, Lincoln Financial Field, been in Safeco Field, operating it for 8 years. And when I saw this building, and how many people have seen our fly-through video? Anybody take a look at that online? You got to check it out. Just search Mercedes-Benz Stadium fly-through. It's a magnificent, beautiful building. And when I came to talk to Rich McKay, the president of the Falcons, and then Arthur, I was really taken by the beauty of the building and the commitment that Arthur had to raising the bar beyond what anyone's done before. And it's not just the sports experience, but making a difference in the community on the west side, and sustainability was a high priority in the design of the building. And we've been through some challenges from a budget standpoint. When you try to do something that no one's built before, it's very difficult. We've got this massive fixed roof, an operable roof that sits on top of it, the world's largest video scoreboard that hangs in the opening, and we're planning to, or hoping to achieve LEED Platinum to be the first professional sports stadium to achieve that. It's not easy. And when the building was conceptualized, years ago, the economy was in a different condition than it is when we went out to buy the work. So you've got risk in doing something that no one's done before. You've got challenges in trying to solve the puzzle. And then you've got a different marketplace that you're buying the work in, which all equates to more money. And what was a $1.1 billion project is now a $1.4 billion project. And I can tell you that Arthur was very adamant with the project team. And when you go through value engineering assessments and you struggle with budget issues that are $50 million, $100 million issues 2 or 3 times, you get this feeling in your gut that you got to give up something at some point, and we never did. Arthur looked at me in a meeting and said, if they want 1 point of lead on any of these VE suggestions, I said, I want you to come and talk to me. And we never went and eroded anything the whole time. So I think that shows the commitment that Arthur has to the project, and it's what brought me here, and the values that he holds dear, and all of our associates hold dear. And 3 of them are listen and respond. And I think that speaks to what we're doing on the west side of Atlanta, and some of the water things we're doing in our building, with a huge stormwater management program. We've got a 1 million gallon storm vault, a 600,000 gallon cistern. We got bile swales, and any typical owner would probably build a building and say, what do I have to do? Check the box. And we went well beyond that because we know it impacts the community. And that's part of listening and responding to the issues of the community. Innovating continuously is another one. And almost every piece of this building, we've looked at it and said, okay, what's the best out there, and what do we do to raise that to the next level? And then finally giving back to others. So those are 3 key things, and it's embedded in everything we do and in the building. So blessed to have the vision and the commitment of Arthur, who's the co-founder of the Home Depot, and gives a lot back to the community in the region.
Thank you. Thank you all again for joining us. So I think one theme that sort of was in all of your opening remarks was something around really drivers for change, right? So whether it's moving to bigger green infrastructure projects, the watershed protection, the actually planning, 52 utilities planning together in a region. So talk to us a little bit more about what some of those drivers have been that have allowed for this kind of One Water progress. And anyone can start.
Anyone? I mean, one thing I'll say is leadership, especially in government, is so important. And it's been great to have the support of Mayor Reed and before that Mayor Franklin to really support the One Water future. So without that, it's hard to get anything done. So I would say that's one of the recipes for success for sure.
Yeah, just to build on that, something that Mayor Reed says frequently when he gives speeches is cities are where hope meets the streets. And very much so, a lot of what is being done on the water forefront that's innovative are at the municipal level. And I know there's some mayors here, and they will probably be nodding in agreement that cities can truly be powerful incubators for change. And I say that with a great amount of respect for colleagues in government at the state and federal level. I actually came from the state government. I was a state representative for 14 years and worked hard on a lot of natural resources and environmental initiatives at the state level, but have really seen firsthand how much more you can get accomplished at the city level, at the local level, and then also in partnerships at the regional level with the cities and the counties working together. So I think that's a true driver is, local government pushing for innovative change. And we can do these pilot projects. We can do the amazing project that was presented and awarded last night in the District of Columbia. I completely want to just steal that here in Atlanta. Oh, and that's the one other thing I will stress is the degree of collaboration between mayors and sustainability directors. And I'm sure there's the same level of collaboration with the watershed departments. We interact a lot. I know Mayor Reed interacts with his colleagues. I interact with sustainability directors, and we all share best practices. And we reach out to them and ask, what's going on in green infrastructure? What are you doing that's edgy and new, and what sort of technology is out there? And so those types of connections at the local level are extremely powerful.
I would also say that one of the drivers for us has been developing a common vision, a shared foresight. And I think the Water District made that possible by bringing all of the utilities and the utility leaders and government leaders, as Stephanie indicated, around a table to talk about that shared future. And it's important to know that even though the legislation was initiated and passed by the state, the reason for the legislation came out of action by community leaders who recognized that our future was extremely dependent on how well we stewarded this small resource called the Chattahoochee River and Lake Lanier. And we're an extremely large metro dependent on a very small stream, very small body of water. And that common vision, that shared vision of having the best stewardship we could have, and the commitment of all the utility leaders who don't get they're not going to be the ones in the limelight, but frankly, it's that shared commitment to how do we make the best of this resource that we share, not only for us, but for future generations as well, has been a big driver of our success so far.
That's great. How about you, Scott?
I agree with everything said. Leadership, vision, partnership are all really important. And I think one of the big drivers now that I think has changed, and I think it's evident in this room, last year you had maybe half the people here.
Yeah.
So kudos to you and to everyone who's here. It's the visibility of the issues and the fact that the realization that it's time to act. And that's what I think sports plays a role, a potential to really bring this to the front page, bring it to everyone's house in the TV, and realize that this makes good business and it's good public policy, and we've got to start to do things. We take water way for granted, way too much, until it's a disaster, right? Until you're in Flint or in Houston or you're in Paris with the floods. And all the meanwhile, if people don't take a leadership role and have the vision to push these things forward for infrastructure, that stuff isn't always sexy and there's always competing interests, but you've got to plan ahead. And I think what's really changed is the fact that, the climate's changing, we're influencing that, and it's time for us to act.
Okay. So I would be remiss when you talked about how do we sort of, in my words, elevate water as a national priority, that we are part of something called the Value of Water Coalition. There's a number of coalition members. I could point you all out right now, but there's about 20 or so coalition members who are here. We're going to be hosting, it's actually when I first met you last fall at the first one, so we're hosting something called on September 15th called Imagine a Day Without Water, and the idea really is around working together across the nation to help people understand the importance of this very, invisible infrastructure. So I'm just going to make a plug that we hope you'll all join us on September 15th for that. So roadblock, I feel like we need to, but we want to have a real conversation today and over the course of tomorrow. So, share with us some of the roadblocks that you've hit, some of the lessons learned from that. What hasn't worked, right? I think we always are so good about talking about what has worked, what hasn't worked, and what have you learned from that?
I'd say funding.
Amen.
I know in my lane at City Hall, which is the sustainability lane, every initiative that I put forth has to come with its funding. I have to put together a financing package, and most of the projects that I promote and are successful, I can off-book finance it, or the program pays for itself with water efficiency. So I have to make the case for everything I do. And I'm unabashedly a tree hugger, and someone in my staff called me a greenie. I'm still not quite sure what that means, but I'm very much an environmentalist, but I also respect that there are many at City Hall who don't share that perspective. And so I have to make a financial case for everything I do. And even with huge multi-billion, billion-dollar budgets, you have to make the financial case work. And so I think that's a challenge for many of us. And then I'll just put it out there since it's a frank conversation. Bureaucracy comes up a fair amount, and so being able to navigate how you can get projects through bureaucracy that just exists in all government at all levels. You know, trying to get procurement and trying to get city council approval, and you have to follow procedures, and that's respected, but just figuring out how you can be effective and move forward on projects can be a challenge.
Yeah. And on the financing piece, we have actually a number of sessions over the course of the day that are looking at some new business models, new approaches, so.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I would echo the financing that always comes up. You know, the two other buckets that I can think of would be regulatory barriers. Sometimes it's hard to do innovative things because of regulatory barriers at the local level and at the national level. That's one of the reasons why we funded that study on the barriers to green infrastructure and hoping it would get some attention, you know, especially from national folks like EPA, that I think has come a long way in trying to remove some of those barriers to green infrastructure, for example. And the other bucket, I would say, is people. You know, you can have people that just don't want to change and they just don't want to innovate. So you have to work around that. So.
Any roadblocks, Doug?
Well, I can say just a general roadblock. I can't point to a specific example, but a general roadblock that we try to always be sensitive to is the fact that no matter how good a policy, a technology, or an innovation is, you have to respect that different people, different communities are in different places with regard to willingness to change. And sometimes it's not an unwillingness, it's just a fear or trepidation because I don't know enough about what you're asking me to change to or what you're asking me to adapt. And so we try to help craft practices and policies in our water plans that respect the fact that the utility leaders and local government leaders know their communities a lot better than we do and allow for the fact that there's going to be a different pace of adoption of some of these things and not insist that everybody make the same change all at the same time. I think a good example of that is our conservation pricing that we had in our plan you know, many years ago. And fortunately, I can say at this point in time, 100% of our utilities have adopted it. But at the time that we put it in place, we didn't try to insist that everybody try to do it all at the same time because we knew that different communities need to understand the why and the wherefore and the benefit for them. And fortunately, we were able to get that over time. So, you know.
That's great.
Yeah, I think the lack of awareness is a key thing for me. I'm not a water expert. I'm just in sports, but and again, that's one reason I'm excited about the Green Sports Alliance. The work we're doing with all of our teams, leagues, and venues is to kind of put it out there and show that this is a better way to play, a better way to do things, whether it's at work, at home, or at the stadium. And when people aren't aware of issues and they take things for granted, it's hard to get people to act. And when I heard that we had a 3-day supply of water in the city of Atlanta, and there was an infrastructure project to make it a 30-day supply through the quarry project, I was like, that makes sense. Yeah. So it's how do you communicate that to people and not doom and gloom, we've got to do this or else, but hey, the vitality of this community depends on this infrastructure, and we've got to get really good at telling that story in a succinct way that resonates with people that say, yeah, that we should invest in that.
Can I just add one point that I know the West Side Future Fund and the Blank Foundation particularly been very sensitive to, and you touched upon it in your response, Scott, is the need to really make sure there's community engagement and respecting that a lot of the communities that are experiencing flooding issues and stormwater overflow are communities that have a myriad of problems. And so we may want to come in just with a solution that's focused on the water issue, but you realize that there are so many other issues and they're all overlapping. And there's housing problems, there's poverty, there's crime, there's education, and they really are all connected. And Turner Foundation and Blank Foundation are leaders in really showing that when you come into a community, you really have to look broadly, and it is all connected.
So I'm really glad that you brought that up, actually, because at the U.S. Water Alliance, our tagline is a sustainable water future for all, and we really believe that if you don't get to the for all, we're not actually successful in advancing One Water. And it seems that Atlanta, right, is sort of has and I live in San Francisco, so we have similar, economic forces where we're booming economically, but there's also large concentrations of poverty, there's workforce challenges, et cetera. And so how are you all thinking about affordability issues as it relates to water? I know you guys have some of the highest, water rates in the country. How are you thinking about, as these investments happen, that disadvantaged neighborhoods really benefit? Tell us a little bit about the approach to social and economic equity here in Atlanta.
Sure. Well, I really think equity needs to be weaved in more and more to everything that we do from an environmental perspective. I don't know if Partnership for Southern Equity is here in the audience, but
Nathaniel was here.
Yeah, we have a delegation of them.
that's great. So, it's lovely to see the conversation come up more and more. I don't know what y'all think, but I think it is being discussed more and more, and we need to focus on solutions. This is something here, I'm going to go ahead and pitch you on an idea, which is something, that I stole from another city, which is New York City, who's looking to figure out how to become carbon neutral. And one way to do that is through efficient buildings, which we're doing a great job at. And they want to take it to a whole nother level, given their focus is on energy, but we can do the same thing for water, and we can do it at the same time, where we have super duper strong energy codes, energy efficient and water efficient codes. Something that we've been trying to do here in Atlanta for a while, we've wanted to do, is retrofit on resale, so that when a building turns over, you have to upgrade all of the fixtures so that they're water efficient. But there's been a lot of pushback from the real estate industry, so it's been hard to do. And they've had the same issues in New York. So what they're thinking about doing instead is mandating that a year after it's sold, because you think about these people that are selling their properties, they could be in financial distress, and saying that you have to upgrade everything before you sell it may prevent the sale, and they may not be able to afford it. So they're not sure that that's going to work, but they say what you could do instead is say, within a year of the sale, the buyer needs to do this. But if they can't, they can purchase an offset. Now, they're talking about energy offsets, but we could do the same thing for water, and that could help fund water efficiency retrofits in low-income communities. So I don't know. That's an idea.
That.
What do you think?
I love it.
That's a good
Let's
idea.
workshop that. We have a couple of sessions actually focused on water equity, affordability issues, so we should maybe try and sort of workshop and flesh this idea out over the next.
We're really grappling with those issues, so we are looking for solutions and good ideas that work in other communities. City of Atlanta recently joined Department of Energy initiative for affordable multifamily housing, water conservation and energy conservation projects as part of the Better Buildings Challenge. And I recently participated in a White House roundtable on this very topic. And cities across the country are grappling with the same issues we are with water conservation measures and energy for affordable housing, because the way the financial mechanism works is the owner of the property or the manager, they bill independently the tenants, they pay their water bill separately. So what's in it for the owner of the building to save money on water? So we're trying to figure out that financial model of how we can make a case, back to my roadblock. How do you make the financial case for sustainability? I do know Mayor Reed really prioritizes equity. We just hired a couple weeks ago an equity officer. I think we're one of the few cities in the country who has a person who's devoted full-time to equity. So she's new at City Hall, and her first task is to focus on housing. So she's pretty much exclusively working on housing issues right now, which is so important. And we have inclusionary zoning that recently went through our city council that requires a certain amount of all housing stock to have affordable housing. And I know the Beltline has a similar policy. If you're building within the Beltline tax allocation district, you have to have a certain amount of set aside for affordable housing. So we really are trying to grapple with those issues, but it's a challenge, and we invite best practices from other cities